Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is Duckville bringing you some StarCraft action. Today we're going to have a PvP, actually. It's I think the first mirror match that I've casted post-release, so it should be pretty cool. As you can see down the bottom right-hand side is our red Protoss player. It is PurpleStain. And his opponent up at the top left-hand side is our blue Protoss player. Of course, he's pretty much the best observer in, let's say, the Southern Hemisphere, if not the world. It is inFeZa. He's going to be starting out here, and I'm just getting a little bit of fan service there. Of course, PurpleStain, a bit of a fan of inFeZa. Good to see. Yeah, so PvP, things have changed quite well. I'd say quite a bit in Heart of the Swarm compared to Wings of Liberty. Of course, in Wings of Liberty, during the end of Wings of Liberty, you started to see pretty similar sort of things going on. Lots of blink pressure, lots of various sort of robo builds, these kinds of things that would come along. Of course, late stages of PvP in Wings of Liberty would end up with just mass World of the Wars, Colossus Wars. Wait, World of the Wars? War of the Worlds, that's the one. Holy crap, I can't believe I forgot that. If anyone, this is just a random aside, if anyone has listened to the War of the Worlds soundtrack, like the original one, where the dude was actually casting it over radio, that's like the original best troll ever. Just pretend, just like cast over radio. That guy's like the best shoutcaster ever. It's like, you know, pretend that there's an alien invasion and everyone's dying. That's probably the best type of trolling I have ever heard. Anyway, yeah, so for Heart of the Swarm PvP, of course, you know, a few things have changed. Of course, we've got the Void Rays actually doing a lot more damage comparatively to what they were doing in Wings of Liberty. You've got Phoenix with their increased range. Let's not, of course, forget the Mothership Core and, you know, the various sort of changes that can add to the matchup. So we'll keep an eye on how these guys are going to go about it. Looks like we've got inFeZa just scouting through. While we're just waiting for the main part of the game to begin, of course, you know, please be sure to jump onto AfterHoursGaming.tv. I've been doing a lot of casting for Day 9's After Hours Gaming League, which has been a whole lot of fun. Of course, if you're not aware of what the After Hours Gaming League is, it is the league where a lot of companies sort of just it's not for, you know, we're not playing for sheep stations or anything like that. It's more about just playing for the fun of playing and having some team games. So, you know, companies like Microsoft, IBM, Adobe, Intel, all these kinds of, mainly tech companies, of course, but have been playing quite a lot of games through the regular season. We're now in the playoffs, of course. I've literally just finished uploading the quarterfinals cast between gosh, I've forgotten who it was. It was National Instruments versus Microsoft, and you can go over and catch that on the After Hours Gaming website, so that'd be really cool if you could jump on there. Also running as a part of that is the So You Think You Can Cast competition, whereby those of us who are casting the event, featuring of course me, Maynard, Zeph, Dr. Llama, and some other folks that are there. We're all casting, and it's a little bit like an Australian Idol kind of competition where, you know, you're sort of doing your best, and then the fans vote for you know, who does the best job. So if you guys could jump on, have a look at some of my casts as well, and then perhaps even vote for me if you'd be so inclined, that would be absolutely awesome. It has been a whole lot of fun. But anyway, back to the game. As we can see here, inFeZa actually just got the jump on PurpleStain here, throwing down the Time Warp to try and make sure that those Stalkers can't catch up with the Zealots. Doing a good job with that is PurpleStain. So while he did lose quite a lot of health on both of these Zealots here, they do look like they will escape, at least initially. Unfortunately, inFeZa did get a little bit behind, but he is actually about to catch up now. The Stalker's going to try and have a look at the Xel'Naga Watchtower. They do see the Zealots now retreating to the southern side. It looks like the Mothership Core will also escape. I don't think, yeah, that's not in jeopardy at all. So we will have a little bit of pressure coming out here from inFeZa. As we can see, PurpleStain only has the 2 gates. A third is only halfway done, but he does have a Stargate. So we are going to be opening up with some Phoenix. Of course, you know, if you remember some of my Wings of Liberty casts of PvP, it's actually one of my favorite sort of openings, is to go with a Stargate and get some Phoenix out. They're a whole lot of fun. You can use them like Mutalisk, and then they just do all sorts of crazy sorts of stuff. You know, keep your opponent in the mineral line. You can snipe off Colossi, these sorts of things if they come out. Yeah, we'll see how PurpleStain's going to do it. Of course, inFeZa, as you can see, just finished up his own Stargate as well, and now looks like Good defense from PurpleStain. He's got his Zealots there doing a little bit of tanking. The Stalkers perhaps a little bit too far behind. So both of the Zealots do go down, and it looks like, well, after that initial exchange with the units lost tally, giving PurpleStain a little bit of a loss there just because of the extra Zealot that he lost, but not too much of a trouble. But inFeZa will have to retreat for now. There's no real, there's no proxy pylons out here to try and help out with the reinforcements or anything like that. But what he is doing is getting a natural expand. So we'll see how he is going to transition out of this initial stage. It looks like we'll be following it up with a couple of Phoenix. Of course, one and a second one is about to pop out of the Stargate. PurpleStain going to have a quick look through. He will find that his opponent is going for a very similar strategy. And, you know, this is just sort of, this is a stage where you notice in PvP, when I haven't actually played PvP for quite a while, unfortunately, I have been playing Terran only, actually. So, this is a stage of PvP where you get to when the Phoenix, both players recognize that they're going for Phoenix, and of course you can see that the count is obviously just a little bit higher for PurpleStain at the moment. But this is a part where you have to decide, alright, am I going to go and try and catch up with the Phoenix count, because it is something that you do need to catch if you are going to go for the same sort of strategy. Do I want to try and you know, catch my opponent and try and beat their Phoenix in the air and then control that air dominance? Or do I want to, you know, do I want to go for a different tech? Of course, some various ways to try and beat a Phoenix tech is to go quickly up to Archons, get some charge lots as well, and then just go for sort of a 1/2 base timing. It sort of depends on how quickly you can macro up, but it looks like we'll get a little bit of a dance of these Phoenix here over the natural of inFeZa. Forces him back for the moment with the Stalkers on the ground. So he is going to hold position for the moment, and it looks like inFeZa with the second Stargate is going to go for the first option I mentioned, which is to try and catch up with your opponent. So, you know, it's that situation. If you're a ex-Brood War player and you remember, Brood War's Zerg vs Zerg, where it was where you have like these various paper scissors rock builds, and then it becomes who has the most mutas up in the air. It is a very, very similar thing in this matchup as well. If you have the higher Phoenix count, then you can actually overcome your opponent, and then once you control the skies, it becomes very difficult to try and deal with this kind of strategy. But as we can see, with the additions of the Nexus Cannon there, very well done by inFeZa to force these Phoenix back. They only grabbed a couple of worker kills there, not too much, and of course the worker count is just slightly favoring inFeZa at the moment, because he did get that faster second Nexus. In fact, PurpleStain is only just finishing up his right now, so he is going to get started on the pro production now. So, as I was saying, this is that point where for inFeZa, he's looking to catch up in the Phoenix count, control that airspace with the Phoenix. He is going to have to deal with the Anion Pulse Crystals, or as I like to call it, the Onion Pulse Crystals, that is going to be coming out of PurpleStain. We'll see if inFeZa is going to go up to the same tech, but when you have a slightly superior Phoenix count, sometimes the Anion Pulse Crystals doesn't actually matter as much. It's very dependent on micro. This is definitely one of those things where if you have superior micro, you can find ways to beat the Anion Pulse Crystals, but generally 9 times out of 10, if you have the Anion Pulse Crystals, you'll actually do a lot better up in the air and be able to control that airspace, which, as we've said time and time again, is a very important part of this matchup with these particular air-based styles. So we'll see what inFeZa is going to do from here. It looks like he is going to continue along that double Phoenix production at a time. Of course, his little proxy pylon here unfortunately does go down. He does have another probe out on the map, just scouting about. Very nicely done. Just trying to keep an eye on what is going on around the place, but both players just going to play relatively passively for the time being. Of course, we can see inFeZa is going to pick up his +1 to the air armor, and once he gets that, he'll have a nice little bonus up in the air, but it looks like we'll have another fight through the middle section of the map. inFeZa just staying clear of the Phoenix of PurpleStain for the moment. PurpleStain will, he won't have any upgrades just as of yet, and in fact, inFeZa already has +1 on his air upgrade, so he will have a little bit of a superior count here in terms of the damage and the defense of these Phoenix. But the problem is that the Phoenix of PurpleStain are just keeping up with him and taking them down so fast just because of the extra range that they have. Of course, if you have a look here, we've got these guys have 7 range compared with the 5 of inFeZa. So while he does have the extra damage and will have better upgrades very soon, it looks like inFeZa will have a little bit of trouble controlling the air dominance for now, and wisely puts down another cannon inside his natural mineral line. Maybe would be good to see another one inside the main as well, but no, well, I suppose if he's able to control where his opponent is out on the map, it wouldn't be too much trouble to try and keep that under wraps. So again, this is sort of a part where this matchup just plays out very passively. You just have this situation where inFeZa with the slightly inferior Phoenix count at the moment is going to want to be very defensive. He's going to sit here and he's going to say, all right, well, I can't really move out. I don't have much on the ground. We've got 8 Stalkers and a Mothership Core. That's not exactly the best fighting force to go on the offensive, so he has to be careful about pushing out, and of course that means that our red Protoss player will have a lot of the map dominance. We'll probably see him take an expansion very quickly, and even inFeZa actually looking to move out towards his 3rd expansion as well. So inFeZa looking for a fight here, has the +1. The 1 armor is also about to complete, but PurpleStain finding a little bit of a hole in at the front door there, comes through, has a quick look, but doesn't really get too much damage done. In fact, may even have suffered from that particular fight, but what he will be doing is getting his own 3rd expansion up, as you can see. He's trying to put a pylon down. That was a little bit weird. The model actually came up for the whole pylon. I've never seen that happen before, but yeah, so we're sort of just very, very stagnant at the moment. We've got inFeZa picking up his own fleet bacon, getting the onion crystals. It's a whole breakfast for you there if you want. He's going to be adding that into the power of his own Phoenix, of course. With 1-1, these guys are looking pretty decent, but the problem is that they can't get in range to assault the Phoenix of PurpleStain. So, I'm interested to see how that's going to go once inFeZa finishes up that the onion ring crystals, whatever you want to call them. But PurpleStain starting to switch around his tech, got the Robo Facility down at the back, getting some Immortals out, but his Phoenix count is just incredible right now. 15 Phoenix are now out for PurpleStain, of course. When you consider how useful these guys are, not only are they good for controlling the airspace, taking down Colossi, Void Rays, these types of things, but they can also lift up the Stalkers. If you have maybe just 1 or 2 or even just 3 Immortals coming about, even though there is a very high count of Stalkers right now, 11 Stalkers around for inFeZa, if you can just lift up half of those Stalkers, the Immortals will destroy the rest on the ground, and then destroy the remaining ones once they fall down to the ground. So PurpleStain doing a really good job with the worker kills at the moment. Unfortunately, just because of the way this game is played out, inFeZa has not been able to move across the map and assault his opponent's mineral line at the moment. So we do see, well, it's actually got PurpleStain up in the lead for the moment with the worker count. He's up at, inFeZa is in the lead, 56 probes for him, so he has been doing a fantastic job with the production of the workers here, up at 58, doing a really good job with that. Of course, both of his bases, the natural and the 3rd, have been a little bit quicker than his opponent, so he has been able to get the count of the probes continuing a lot faster. But now a Tempest has come out, and that is going to be able to do a lot of long-range damage, but the issue will be, can it keep up with the Phoenix? Of course, the Phoenix is a very fast unit, and inFeZa is going to have his work cut out for him. A lot of micro required on that Tempest. Of course, you could see things like perhaps an Oracle come out, an Oracle with Revelation, throwing that down on some of these Phoenix. You can keep an eye on where they're going and could just constantly move your forces around to be in position for this kind of attack. But I doubt we'll see that just for the moment, because inFeZa wants to invest all of that gas in getting some of these Tempests out, which once they get to a critical mass, they can actually just sort of start just annihilating Phoenix, but unfortunately that's going to be quite a while away, because there are so many Phoenix out right now for PurpleStain. He's got a total of he's got 20 Phoenix out of the map, just the 4 Immortals now in this first attack force. We've also got a few Stalkers here and a couple of Zealots as well. A Proxy Pylon going to help out with some reinforcements, and he's going to be looking to attack into this 3rd base. inFeZa, no idea that this is going on, but he should be, certainly be aware now. The Phoenix have just revealed themselves, and the attack will commence. The 4 Immortals, of course, with their bonus damage against Armored, will be able to take down that Nexus very quickly, and the Phoenix come along to try and fight, but unfortunately there is no way that they're going to be able to deal with this huge count of Phoenix up in the air for PurpleStain. So looks like the third of inFeZa goes down pretty quickly, just restricting the resources coming in for inFeZa despite having a slightly higher probe count. Of course, without that third base, it's going to be very difficult for inFeZa to continue on in the resource race here. His main base is almost mined out. The natural's still looking pretty decent, but of course with the third now just a little bit delayed, that is going to slow his production just a little bit. As we can see, the double Stargate's not really doing too much just at the moment. The minerals, the big issue that inFeZa is having right now. So we see him just switching up the tech a little bit. We're going to have a Dark Shrine just warping in at the back of the third base here. Of course, you know, once these DTs come out, they could cause a little bit of a problem, but the main issue, as we said before, is that inFeZa is still having a little bit of trouble. I think he's going to be switching in, yeah, I was going to say, he's going to be switching into just Archons with some Tempest in the back when he can spare them, just the odd Tempest every now and then, but here we go with the big Phoenix push is coming through. Will they be able to downsize these Tempests? In fact, yes, they almost get a kill on one of those Tempests, but are forced back, with a lot of damage being done by the Tempest, and of course the Stalkers on the ground. The Stalkers have got one on their shields and one on their weapons as well. Of course, the big thing about the Archons is that, as you can see here, the Phoenix love to clump up, just like Mutas in Brute War. We're talking about the similarities of them. When they clump up, they can be splashed apart by all of these Archons. So it is a very good way to try and deal with large forces of Phoenix out in the air. And as we can see, inFeZa is going to scout out that his opponent has moved across to the right-hand side of the map. The Phoenix count continuing to grow. 27 Phoenix are now out for PurpleStain right now. His upgrade's at 002, so he does have some really good damage on these Phoenix, but will they be able to contest with all of these Archons that are starting to pour out from inFeZa? I would like to say yes, they will, just namely because PurpleStain could probably just say, you know what, I'm going to kill all your Tempests, and once they're done, then who really cares what happens? And here we go. He's going to push through. We've got the Phoenix assaulting the Tempest at the front. It looks like the Tempest trying to micro back, but inFeZa is just having a whole world of trouble trying to deal with these. The Immortals are just walking straight up to some of those Stalkers there, trying to target down some of the Immortals and the Archons and the Stalkers. But the Phoenix now coming to the back, he's going to have a very hard time dealing with those with only a few remaining Stalkers on the ground. It looks like we do have a large contingent of units here for inFeZa, but not going to do too much, unfortunately, and the majority of his units are being picked off by those Phoenix, but the Phoenix count has been reduced. We've now got it down to just a small total of units right now, but inFeZa is going to try and get some of his own damage done. We've got DTs just making their way across the map. It's a DT train. In fact, there are so many DTs just wandering their way across. There is a single cannon here to try and defend against all of this, and we'll see if PurpleStain is going to be able to pick them all up in time. No, he doesn't, and the DTs go to work. He is going to be able to assault the natural base here. inFeZa trying to get his own fourth base up and running. If he can get that, then he can certainly work his way back into this, but if these DTs go down without getting too much more damage done, then things could be a little bit troublesome here for inFeZa. He's up at 110 supply, and he is going to secure this fourth base, but his opponent also has a fourth here. We got a few cannons to defend that as well, and the DTs are unfortunately not really targeting too much down. They have not really gotten much done, and apart from getting a Nexus there, which I suppose is a decent amount of damage, but they haven't been able to really get too much more going apart from that. So another DT will head into the third base, going to look to try and get some damage done. Unfortunately, a good amount of detection here for PurpleStain, so he was able to force that DT back, and we're sort of sitting at this situation where we've got 14 Phoenix out, 6 Stalkers, and then of course that singular mothership core for PurpleStain. Meanwhile, for inFeZa, of course, he does have a couple of Archons and quite a lot of Zealots on the ground. These guys do have charge. Their upgrades at 011, of course, and I'm sort of just wondering what we're going to see from inFeZa here. It looks like he is going to go for that Zealot Archon strategy. Looks like the Phoenix is going to try and come across and scout out what's going on. They will see that fourth base, going to try and lock that down if they can. And if PurpleStain can get rid of this fourth, then this game is effectively over, because there's no way that inFeZa is going to be able to come back. And we do see a little bit of a tech switch here from PurpleStain. Apart from those 3 Stargates, that's why he's cranking out so many. We do have of a robotics bait now just about to pop out from him. So he is going to switch into the Colossus tech, I would assume. I highly doubt that's for mass speed prisms. Last time I checked, they don't do too well. And so inFeZa is going to have to deal with this switch very soon. Of course, this is another really good part about the response of Archon Zealot to try and deal with Mass Phoenix, is that Archon Zealot actually still does really well against Colossi, but the issue is going to be that there are still so many Phoenix up in the air. He can lift up pretty much the majority of all of these Zealots that inFeZa has, and you know that's just gonna make these fights a little bit difficult right now for our blue Protoss player. So we'll see what he's going to do. Double Robos bringing out the Archons, the Colossi for our red Protoss player. PurpleStain is going to be bringing those out 2 at a time. Of course, extended thermal lance also on the way. And he's going to look to, I think he's just going to play a little bit defensively for the time being. This force of Zealots and Archons is going to be a little bit difficult for him to deal with unless he gets some really good lifts on like the majority of all of those Zealots, because otherwise he's going to get torn apart by all of that. inFeZa now attempting to take a 5th base across to the left-hand side of the map. Of course, his opponent does have this lower base just across to the side there. It's actually a very short walk just across to that position. So inFeZa will need to be very careful. Perhaps a few warp-in attacks might be very good to see from PurpleStain here, but he is just letting it go for the moment, continuing to bring out those Colossi. We've already got 2 of them here. They don't have the hugest of upgrades, but as long as he can keep the count up, then he can certainly be in a good position with all of those units. And there, of course, you know, these power units that are starting to come out from PurpleStain. The Phoenix just absolutely excellent for harassment, for air control, trying to keep your opponent back, but they don't necessarily actually win you a game. Last time I checked, you can't actually lift buildings. So he's starting to bring out the Colossi and, of course, these Void Rays as well. The Void Rays with their prismatic alignment are able to do a sizable amount of damage against pretty much every single unit in a Protoss army. So they are very good for trying to finish off your opponent. You commonly see PvPs just end up in a flurry of Void Rays and Stalkers and these kinds of things. And inFeZa trying to get some harassment done on the left-hand side of the map. Unfortunately, not really able to get too many cannons there, but this does give him a little bit of an opening inside the natural of PurpleStain. As you can see, the Phoenix actually kept back this time just because of the large amount of the Archons there, and with a few shots on some of those Phoenix, we may see that force of Phoenix go down, but unfortunately, the Archons have now been burnt down. We've got them fighting with Void Rays and Colossi at the back. We've also had them fighting against the Colossi at the front, and inFeZa is in quite a lot of trouble right now, down to 86 supply. It's going to go down even further in just a moment. It looks like this Archon, nope. The Archon might escape actually, but the Phoenix do lift up the Stalkers and they struggle in that Gravit's on beam there. That looks hilarious. They look like they're dancing or something like that. But this now puts the game firmly in the favor of PurpleStain right now. As you can see from inFeZa, he's rushing to try and get some units out. We do have just a lot of Warp Gate units coming out. He's going to try and get some more Archons out. We do have Stalkers as well as some Void Rays coming through too. But will it be enough, and will it be in time? Because the 4 Colossi and of course those Void Rays that are starting to accumulate for PurpleStain are going to give him a lot of grief right now. And here we go. It looks like we will have another battle just across the cliff through the middle section of the map here. The Phoenix coming over to lift up as many of those Stalkers as they can, and they do pick them all up. And that is, a huge army of inFeZa decimated there by all of those units, and now the Colossi just going to slowly siege up across this base here. DTs do come along, and in fact, I was about to say, where are is there an observer here? But yes, there is. There is an observer for our for PurpleStain. He is going to be pushing across. He should be able to deal with this base quite easily now, because apart from, you know, the cannons here, there's no real defense. So he's going to have quite a lot of trouble dealing with that. A couple of DTs for inFeZa going to warp in and try and come back and help out with this attack. He may even just go straight for the main base here. If he could take out some of these Stargates, there still may be a little bit of hope, but I mean, just dealing with all of these Colossus is going to be a very tough thing, not to mention the Void Rays that are also there. The Observer, where did they go? I think the Observer died, so there's now actually no detection here for PurpleStain. He's actually going to lose pretty much all of these units if he's not careful. But the Phoenix is still coming across, doing all sorts of damage to the probes, trying to transfer over to the opposite base. But the DTs have taken out the majority of those Colossi. Just 2 of the new ones have come across to come back and help out, but they will be forced back for the time being, and inFeZa down at 110 supply is in quite a lot of trouble right now, but he is still holding on tight. He's got this 5th base, and maybe he can bring something back to the table here. We've got a few Archons. We do have some Void Rays as well. Of course, his upgrades are still pretty good for most of his units here. He's got 111, but now, as we can see, the Void Rays of PurpleStain are on 103, so he's going to be doing a huge amount of damage right here. Look at the damage. It's 13 plus 6 against armored, and that's more than per second. So he is going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage with these Void Rays right here. inFeZa does have some decent upgrades on the ground as well, 112, but I feel like, unfortunately, this is not going to work out too well for him. He's down in supply and down in the power units as well, with the Phoenix also here to help out with lifting up the majority of those ground units. Of course, they can't lift up the Archons because they are massive, but now with the Void Rays just, unfortunately, just pushing across on the wrong side, the Phoenix there able to do a ridiculous amount of damage, and the Archons almost targeting down those big clumps of Phoenix, almost just bursting them all down. That would have been a very interesting turn of events, but unfortunately inFeZa, with the Zealots now just starting to warp in, he's going to have a lot of trouble trying to deal with this, and it looks like with his 5th base under attack, the Zealots are going to be, I would think, taking this base down, but looks like some warp-in's going to help out it, but the Nexus continues to go down. Will he be able to fix that up? I think he's going to be able to take it. No, he sort of mistargeted a couple of those Zealots there, so the Nexus does survive, but unfortunately, with a couple of Void Rays now coming across, it looks like this Nexus of inFeZa is, well, I thought he would have killed that. It wouldn't be too hard with all of those Void Rays there, but inFeZa still survives to fight for a few more moments here. Will he be able to do too much with this? It looks like the Archon's able to burst down a couple of those Phoenix. PurpleStain needs to be very careful though, because of course they do clump up, as we said. Does he get the big hit? Yes, he does. Some of those Phoenix almost dead, and gonna actually destroy almost every single Phoenix there. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if this is going to be enough, but he will be able to take care of some of these Void Rays as well. But the Void Rays, look at that ridiculous amount of damage that they do, taking out the Archons there, and despite the one remaining Archon, inFeZa down to 53 supply is just falling apart now. Unfortunately, there is no way for him to finish this one up, but excellent play by both of these players. inFeZa just trying to come back. Of course, we mentioned the various styles of trying to deal with a very heavy Phoenix play, and he almost brought it out there. I thought there was going to be a point where, because he did have the superior bases and some of those upgrades, he was going to be able to bring it back, but unfortunately not. PurpleStain taking the win there, and I hope you enjoyed this match. Make sure you catch me on Twitter and Twitch and all those cool things. Facebook as well, facebook.com/duckfield.casting is where you can find me. I'll catch you all next time. Still neglecting to target the Cyber. I'm actually, like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just very surprised that Cat hasn't actually taken that down yet. It's a, you know, it's of course one of the key buildings that a Protoss army has, and as you can see,